Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us. Welcome to the Why Does My Partner podcast.
I'm Jules.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met at a training, and our secret sauce is that we and our partners became fast friends. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for couples therapy. If something you hear in this podcast stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com to leave a question of your own. Here's today's question. Why does my partner push me until I lose it? I tell them what I'm hoping for. They don't do it again and again, and I feel so frustrated. I just scream. I wish he would just listen to me. And then, of course, I feel like crap because I don't want to yell like that. How do I get him to listen to me? Oh, but that's not all, because we have another question today. Why does my partner push me till I collapse? I say out loud what feels not okay for me, but then the pushback comes and I just say, never mind. So I go with whatever she wants.
Let's talk about why we put these questions together.
Oh, why did we? Because they go together. Because they're
the same question.
Yeah.
In two different forms.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's both of the words push me.
They do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
I
but
mean,
I think
even in print, they're the same. I want to point that out. That like, why does my partner push me until?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the piece here is that nobody's pushing. Like, okay, I understand your partner might not be behaving well, right? I get that.
Right.
I'm not kind of making excuses for your partner's behavior in these cases.
No, not at all.
That's not where I'm going. But you know us, we do U-turns.
Yep.
Yeah, but you're doing it fast.
I am doing it freaking fast here because that's the point, right? This week we're talking about something we call containing boundaries.
Yeah.
And this is 100. We're here to talk about boundaries. Boundaries are not about what the other person is doing.
Right.
They're about what you do.
Mm-hmm. We can't say that enough.
I wouldn't have to work my boundaries if Gabe would just stop pushing me. I do want to point that out.
I get it.
Totally.
And do you live in that world?
Oh, no.
Neither do I.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. You weren't supposed to say that.
So we could delve into 100 different ideas about why is my partner pushing me like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why, when I ask kindly and nicely and nothing happens, but then I'm yelling, and then even then sometimes it doesn't happen, but sometimes yelling, what about the moments when yelling finally gets their attention? Now I'm just learning I have to yell to get your attention. Like, I could go down that rabbit hole and make a lot of guesses about history and about wanting. Sometimes this is true between both of us, right? I want what I want when I want it. And what you want is different than what I want.
Yeah, sorry, because my son literally said that to me when he was like 3. You just want what I want when I want it. And I was like, oh yeah, bye. Yeah. Everyone does. Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
In both of these questions, there's something else happening. It's not just why does my partner do this to me? It's also, and then I behave in a way that I'm not okay with. I do something that goes against my
Exactly, and
own
that's the key.
integrity.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
I go
I
with
don't like
whatever
who I
she
am.
wants. I
Mhm.
say never mind. I do something that I'm not really
Yeah.
okay with. I behave in a way that I'm not happy with, right? I feel like crap because of my behavior, right?
Mhm.
Those are the things that are happening on the
And
other
the
side of
truth
this question.
is,
The truth
right,
is,
exactly. And that's the part we want to focus on, because the truth is that my partner is not always going to behave in the way I would like them to. That is just the truth of the
Mhm.
matter.
I just don't like it.
And well, I want to give us
Mhm.
tools, right? Where if you want to, you can choose to have your behavior, what you do and what you say, 100% in your integrity, in how you want to be in
Mhm.
relationship, in how you want to show up in the world, in how you want to be with you, in you, living up to your version of the self you want to be. And I don't think you have to get your partner to behave a certain way for that to be your reality.
It sounds great.
It's hard.
it's hard.
Yeah.
And it means
It's hard.
that you know, you need to be the adult in the room. Even when you don't
It
want to be.
sucks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's not fair. It's awful.
There's grief, tons of grief.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And also,
Well, and
yeah, go ahead, Jules.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
well,
and tons of joy and freedom. Like
mhm.
when I walk away from a sticky conversation, and this could be with my partner, this could be with my kiddo, this could be with a client, this could be with a colleague. When I walk away going, I feel excellent about how I showed up. It may be, maybe even didn't get what I wanted out of the conversation. And I would go back and do the same behavior again, exactly as I did it. I feel really good about how I showed up. There is a coming home to myself.
Oof, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What are you
Yeah, well,
thinking?
just that coming home to the self is like, oh, every single time I experience it, it is I don't have a word. I don't have a word for how much clarity it brings, how much centered, how rooted
Mhm.
it feels, right? Like how
Mhm.
much it writes what's not okay,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? It's like there's
Mhm.
so many things that I can't control.
Yeah,
Right.
this is where we're going to own that we have no control
Right.
over what our partner does. I'm
Mhm.
so sorry. You have great influence, but
Yes.
no control.
But
None.
and these questions are about my partners, but I also want to point out we have no control over like even our children as well, or whomever
Yeah,
it is. Because
we
Rebecca, the word
can't.
that crossed my mind, this just me, was I felt relief this
Yeah.
morning. Like I had an issue with my kiddo this morning, and I look back and I could see the one part I would have tweaked, and it was not as bad as it was not a big part like it would have been before. And there was such relief in that I didn't. This is me. I tend to berate myself. I had nothing really to berate myself for. Like that, and that's what I mean by that was the relief of like,
Yay!
oh, I wish I had said there was a timing boundary that I broke. So I wish I had not done that
Mhm.
part. But I didn't say anything I
Mhm.
regretted. I didn't do anything else
Mhm.
that was
Yeah,
outside of my integrity.
Right.
So I'm just
There
saying
you
the word
that's
go.
right.
relief was my
Can
word.
can we
Mhm.
back up a minute there? You didn't
Mhm.
do anything that was outside of your integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
That is like a huge freaking deal. Because that's the thing.
Mhm.
When our partners
Mhm.
push us, right? We end up
Mhm.
behaving in ways
Mhm.
that are outside of our integrity,
Yeah.
or we
Mhm.
end up doing something that hurts
Mhm.
them, right? That causes them pain.
Mhm.
right? And
Which is outside of my
Mhm.
integrity.
which is also
Mhm.
outside of our integrity, right?
Mhm.
And so this episode, we're really focusing in on what, Jules, what you've called containing boundaries. And this is what containing boundaries help us so much with. Containing boundaries help us to behave in ways that's in
Mhm.
sync with our integrity.
Yeah.
Well, and I have so much compassion as I sit with these questions and I hear that pain point in each one of them. In the first one, it went, then of course, I feel like crap because I don't want to yell like that. And I go, of course you don't.
Yeah.
Of course you don't. And this other one, who moves, push me till I collapse. And then the pushback comes and I say, never mind. And I just go with what she wants. And I go, oh, sweet one, you left yourself. I'm so sorry. So there's I have just an enormous amount of compassion because I know that most of us did not get taught anything about how to pause in real time between what we feel and what we do. Many of us never got that.
Yeah.
And if you're building it from the ground up, there are ways we can work with your brain. Your brain can be a partner in this. And once we understand just a little bit about how the brain works, we can build tools that are going to work with the brain in the order and speeds that different parts of the brain work. We can really utilize that information to help us build this containment so that there is a pause between what you feel and what you do. And I notice the word collapse in that question. I really want to separate this out. We're not talking about a trauma freeze response or a fainting response that comes from, that's a separate thing. We're talking about, there's this moment when I read that question. Here's my guess about what you mean, caller, is like, there's this moment where I go to helpless, hopeless and go, never mind.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
Between that feeling and the saying, never mind, you could put a pause. Just like you could put a pause between being angry and yelling. And a lot of people are not thinking about how shutdown also needs a pause.
Yeah, that seems foreign.
I know this is new.
Yeah.
This is new info for a lot of people. If you are a person, and I'm one of them, if you are a person who inside of that hard, sticky moment with your partner would tend towards more avoidance, would tend towards turning away, would tend towards not speaking, would tend towards exiting emotionally, you can put a pause between what you are feeling and doing that. That is
so
totally
weird.
possible.
It's weird to me because even when I hear you talk about it, it sounds to me like the walking away is the pause.
Nope, it's not.
Right.
Nope.
I know. I just wanted to emphasize that because
the
that
walking
sounds
away,
so weird.
The walking away is a reaction.
It's still a behavior. Yeah, it's still a
reaction,
behavior,
right?
Well, it's the reaction. It's the reactive behavior, right?
Right. I want to slow us down for a minute, right?
Yeah.
There's, I think it's attributed often to Viktor Frankl, but it might also be attributed to others. I'm not 100% sure where this quote goes, but the quote goes something like, between the things that happen to us and our responses to those things, there lies a space. And inside that space lies our power and our freedom to choose our response. Right? So that is exactly what we're talking about developing here. We're talking about developing the space between the stimulus and the response.
Right. And so I just looked at the brain and go, well, if the brain works like this, then here are some tools about how to do that.
Totally. Yeah.
You make it sound really simple, like, duh. If the brain works like this, here are the tools. But
well, like if a brake system works like this, then this is what we should do.
But the brain, and as I am starting to, but like, the brain and you have a creative mind for what are these activities that would work with the way the brain already works.
Right.
I brought my car in to get serviced this week. And it's just like a regular routine servicing. And we go to Eli and my husband's there with me, and I'm like, we got to bring up the thing about the washer fluid. And James is like, no, 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 no. Like, don't worry about it. It's too big a deal. And I'm like, no, no, no. You got to let me tell Eli. So I tell Eli, I'm like, all right, Eli, it's totally frustrating me. I go to turn on my windshield washer fluid. And when I go to turn it on, the front one goes in the back and the back one goes in the front. And like, I get really confused and I never know how to do it. And I need this fixed. And James is like, this is going to be too big a fix. And Eli just listens to me and he goes, yeah, there's just a wire that got crossed. I got it.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. Only, you know what I was thinking as we were chatting about it? It's like, and also I don't actually think of brains like machines. I think them more like a forest.
Yeah.
So if the forest grows like this,
My head just exploded.
where shall we plant seeds?
I have an idea about
I
this.
can't get there.
You
My
can't
head
get
did
there?
explode. I just froze. No,
I'm
I like
just
the
organic.
engine. I like the engine better.
I'm more of a be with the organicness of this thing that is your brain. But I hear you. Sometimes it's easier to think about it as the brain system or a mechanical
yeah.
system.
Okay, so if
it
we're
is
gonna-
easier,
to me at
even if
least,
inaccurate.
yeah.
It is easier if inaccurate.
If we want to really
Man.
simplify it down to a simple system like that,
Mhm.
maybe
Yes.
what we can do
I like
is we could think about it like, what does your brain look like on judgment? Whether that's coming
Mhm,
from the
mhm.
outside or the inside, like if it's coming from you
Both
to you
ways.
versus if it's coming from someone else to you or you to somebody else, right? Like
That
in
is
all
a
the
brain
directions.
on fire.
Right. And that
Oh,
is a
so true.
brain that is feeling some kind of pressure, that is moving into reactivity quicker, that is seeing the world
Mhm,
more black and
mhm.
white, that is, right? Like, so that's a brain on the pressure and the judgment. Now,
On the
what does a
judgment.
brain look
Mhm.
like on compassion?
A brain on compassion looks soothed, nuanced, creative, connected,
Yeah.
flow,
Mhm.
insightful.
Your whole tone
Moral
changed.
reasoning is online,
Mhm.
and it's all
Totally.
because of GABA. I love GABA. GABA loves me. It's a neurochemical that calms our brains down, and it just so happens that it when your brain is on compassion, self compassion or receiving compassion from other, or even giving compassion to someone else. The
Mm.
parts of your brain that do interoceptive pain, so that's the pain you feel inside emotionally and physically, the parts
Okay.
of your brain that do fear, and the parts of your brain that processes meaning of fear and pain are gone. It goes like this. Shh, I'm here.
Mm.
Gotcha. It's like it doesn't shut them off. It's not like a dissociative thing.
Mhm.
It's more like a calm down, I got you.
Mhm.
And so it slows it down. And so compassion, if
Mm.
you want behavior change. So if I'm in a space where I notice I'm yelling and I don't want to yell, I am never going to have ongoing success if I use harshness towards me to stop that.
It's like telling a kid, oh, just stop crying.
Right? Totally.
When in the
That
history
doesn't
of
work.
when has that ever
Mhm.
worked?
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, it does if you scare the kid bad enough.
Mm.
I'm thinking, I'm remembering some things in just a moment. I'm like, it will. You can get, no, here's the thing. Can I
Yeah.
tell you something really hard? Scaring someone, harshness, it does work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It does work to
And-
stop a thing.
It works to stop a thing, but it doesn't, the cost, I think that's where you're
cost
going,
is
right?
so huge. The cost is too big. I'm not telling you that willpower won't change it in this moment. You can use willpower and it'll change it at this moment. Faster, even faster than compassion will. I'm never going to lie to you about that. But the long-term behavior changes that are the most sustained and the largest and most successful are done when our brain is on compassion. Why? Because my brain slows down and does the more nuanced form of processing. And when I use judgment, when I use harshness with myself, when I use the willpower forceful way, it's really deceiving. Because it'll actually give
It
you
is deceiving.
faster behavior change. It will. It will. I ain't
So
gonna
it
lie
is
to you.
effective.
It is effective, but not in a long-term way.
Right. Not in a long-term
And
way. Well, I
not
tried
in a
to make
long-term
them.
way.
I made the mistake of telling Gabe it's not effective, and he was like, "Hi, welcome to." Like, yes, it is. It's what I've been doing
Yeah.
my whole life. It's totally effective.
No,
I
it
can't
is.
convince them that it's not.
Of
It
course,
is.
because
Yeah.
that would be a lie. No, the truth
Mhm.
is it is effective, but one, the long-term benefits do
Mhm.
not bear out, and two, the cost is huge.
What's the cost?
The cost of putting your brain on fire all the time?
Mhm.
Oh, like inflammation, heart disease, like
Heart
all of
disease.
those
we can
things.
go
Yeah,
on
those
and on
things.
here,
Yeah.
right?
All of
Like
those things.
But that's what I
also
want to tell people, like
n-
concretely heart
No, but
disease and like physical stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
physical stuff, but also in the moment, it's not possible to be really mean to yourself and have a brain on fire and then be connected and kind. If connected and kind is where you want to go next, you can't do that. That's not a thing. And the
Right.
long-term costs of scaring your own system or scaring someone in your space is that they tell you less and you have less closeness. You want less closeness? Go with
Oh.
judgment. That's the
Mhm.
long-term cost. We're all about relational stuff here, right?
Mhm.
I was about to say
Yeah.
relational
Yeah.
health, but then like, how do I even define that? And
well, and
you
I
know,
think
I
there's
like
this
all
relational
that.
stuff.
there's this other thing that happens when we scare, whether it's ourselves or somebody else, because heck, I know how to scare myself really well, right?
Mhm.
So if we're scaring ourselves or somebody else into a behavior and we're
Mhm.
using that kind of pressure point to get there,
Mhm.
there's also part of the cost is that I have to lose my connection to me
Yes.
to get there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm doing more of the saying never mind. I'm doing more of the I don't want to be that way, right? I'm doing
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
of not being with me while I'm with you.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
be with
Yeah.
me and you simultaneously if I'm using pressure towards me, and I can't be
Mhm.
with me and you simultaneously if I'm using pressure
Mhm.
towards you or if you're using it
Mhm.
towards me.
Yep.
But if we're using compassion,
Mhm.
now we can be with ourselves
Mhm.
and with each other.
And it's slower. I'm
It's
gonna
slower.
lie.
It's slower.
It
Yeah.
takes more practice. Yep, that's true. You're not
It
gonna
takes
get
more
the
initial consciousness. Initial. Like
initial
Mhm.
it's slower on
on the front end.
the front end. The front loading of it is slower.
Mhm.
But there's this wild thing that happens because once your brain starts understanding what compassion
Yeah.
is and what it feels like, and you start developing practices that work around these pausing practices,
Mhm.
around these giving yourself compassion, around coming back home to who do you want to be and how do you want to show up and owning your influence. Once you
Mhm.
start developing those practices and you get them wired in, that takes what, like 3 to 4 weeks to kind of develop the practice. And then like
Dude, like
th-
6 months to a year of really practicing it regularly, and it'll start showing up for you.
totally. And this has happened for me. And I love this so much.
Mhm.
Can I share this little bit?
Yeah, please.
I don't
Share
think
it.
I've shared this yet. So I have really followed through on a lot of what you teach in the new book, Jules, Setting Boundaries That
Mhm.
Stick. Folks, if you haven't bought it yet, I'm telling you, go pick up a copy.
Mhm.
I've been practicing and practicing these practices, and I have developed. You teach us to develop a compassion practice that is filled with a pause
Mhm.
plus a gesture that
Mhm.
brings us compassion
Mhm.
plus 2 values keywords that brings us back home to how do we want to show up in ways that we could be proud of ourselves and also
Mhm.
relationally. And we put all of these things together. So you have your pause, your compassion gesture, and your 2 keywords. And
Mhm.
these things all go together.
And how
And
fast to do it, like, in real time? Like, if you're doing it, does it
yeah.
take, like, 2 seconds, 3 seconds in real time in the moment,
So in
now that
real
you've got it?
time, in the moment,
Seconds.
it takes me less than a second to
Yeah.
do it. But if I really want to soak up the benefits of it, I might linger inside of it for about 5 seconds. And if
Mhm.
I really am struggling with something, I might sit there for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So
See how short
Somewhere
that is?
between
See how short
5
that
seconds
is?
and 2
Mhm.
minutes.
yeah, but here's the
Mhm.
coolest part about it. Because
Mhm.
as the gesture has become something that I've been doing now for, I don't know, about 6 months, 9 months, maybe 10 longer. I don't know,
Mhm.
right? It's been
Mhm.
going on for a
Mhm.
while now. So now the gesture takes care of me instead of me even remembering the gesture. And then the gesture reminds me of the rest of the
Mhm.
practice. So I will be having a hard moment. My husband and I have hard moments when we're driving in the car, being kind of side to side next to each
You're so
other is
bad.
like one of the places, right? So we're having one of these hard moments, something's going on, and I'm going in my head into one of these, oh my God, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. I feel he is, da, 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 whatever. I'm going into one of those places. And then my gesture shows up, and it's this little thing my fingers do. And my fingers start doing the thing, and I look down at them and I go, wow, that's really familiar. Oh, yeah, that's my gesture. Oh, there are 2 words that go with that. And then I'm pausing already because now I'm trying to remember what those 2 words are. And then I remind
pause.
myself of my 2 words, and my behavior changes. My behavior changes inside of that moment.
Yep.
And let me add, the book helps you figure out what your 2 words are.
Oh,
Like
it
that-
gives you, it takes you
that's
through this
important.
whole
The book walks you
developing.
through. The book walks you through that whole thing.
Yeah.
Because your words are my words are different than Rebecca's. Anyone who reads the book,
My
your words are
words-
different.
yeah.
But the book tells you that.
Yeah. And I've taken so many clients through this. And what I love about developing this practice is that it's not something that's telling you what to do. It's something that's reminding you who you want to be because you took the time to develop that practice.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah. It's reminding you, like, is this how you want to show up? It's kind of like
it basically
a compass.
protects you from yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only are you protecting other people from your behavior, you are, but it's not only for them that you do this. It's actually for you that you do this.
Right. So I'm coming back to these questions.
We don't have time, probably in this podcast, to go all the way through it.
No,
right.
We
won't
can
take you through the practice. You can look at the book for that. But
you can catch it at the book. You can come to one of our workshops, right? We cover it there. Jules, you have a Setting Boundaries at Stick workshops coming out in, I think, February.
Yes.
We have our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop.
I have live in-person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
online
lots
version
of
and an
places
in-person version.
that people can get this, right? From you, from us, from the book, right? Like there's lots of different ways. But developing this practice is transformative because inside of this question, we're hearing things like, I don't want to yell like this. I just say, never mind. I'm out of alignment with myself. This is the practice that helps us not lose alignment with ourselves. So along those lines,
it's really about coming home to you.
I mean, yes.
And so I'm thinking there's one more skill I really want to make sure we drop inside of this episode. And that's talking about the difference between time ins and time outs.
Ooh, I love time ins and time outs. I love it. So time outs are when, I know my brain's too hot. I know if I stay in here, I can't
to kill you.
Stay in my integrity. Totally. I'm going to kill you. Exactly. And I call it. So it's actually a signal that we've predetermined, and I leave the room for a set amount of time. So that's a timeout. And a lot of people have heard that in various couple spaces, but we love to teach time ins.
So much.
We teach them in our workshop. Yeah. And time ins is better used when you're not quite as hot. If you're all the way flipped and
go with the timeout,
you totally go with the timeout. But if you're not, there is a way you can choose to pause together. But in order to do this, you have to make a contract on the front end when you're both calm.
You're not making this contract in the moment.
No.
You're not making it in the moment.
Yeah. This is the agreement's done in like a cool moment, a non-heated moment.
Yes. The agreement already happens, and then we decide we're going to do this thing. And then there can be a symbol or a word that goes with it, so we know this is a moment for a time in. Most people I work with say, actually, time in, please, because they're not so activated they can't do it. And we just need to make an agreement, right, on both sides that either when the partner calls time in, either you agree to do the time in or you go ahead and take a time out.
Yeah. If you're too heated for a time in, yes.
Then you go ahead and call it.
Yeah.
So you're not trapped.
Right.
Not
well,
trapped.
And even right there's a pause. Like even right there, it's a circuit breaker on the whole escalation of the fight. Because now you're literally in a moment of like, oh, which pause are we going to take?
Right. But most people have never even heard of a time in. They don't know what to do in them. They have no idea
I hadn't.
is possible.
This
well,
is
I
what I talked
hadn't
about.
either. I know. Well, I just made it up and
Yeah.
started doing it with
Well,
couples.
There are some, it is taught in some parenting circles,
Yeah.
right? Like when
Yeah.
you want to do a
Oh.
time out with a kid, everybody's heard of, right? Like you put your kid in the corner, you
Mhm.
put them in the room, they have to go think about what they did. A time
Mhm.
in is for parenting is like you gather your kid in on your lap and you hold them and you talk with them about like what just happened there, kiddo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of compassion. There's lots of holding.
Yeah.
There's lots of being with
Mhm.
what is being stirred up. Oh, it looks
Mhm.
like you're really angry
Mhm.
right now. You're having a hard
Mhm.
time with blah, blah, blah when such and such happened, right? Like that's a time in.
Right. And it's kind of like that,
Mhm.
only we do it with ourselves.
Totally.
Right. So what was
Mhm.
happening, I can tell you how I came to create this thing. It's because I had been through couples training, had noticed that timeouts were making some people feel abandoned and wanted a different
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
I just wanted to come up with another option that maybe would solve that problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm the only person in the world who ever created this, everyone. I'm
Mhm.
sure there are lots of people who do this all over the place. I'm just telling you, this is my version. So a time in is where we pause, don't leave the room, and start making a U-turn. So the room goes quiet and we stop talking to each other and you start turning in and
To look at
wondering.
yourself.
Yep, turn
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
and wonder, what's happening inside for me right now?
And this is where I really find that it's very helpful to use this pausing practice,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So you're
Mhm.
using
Mhm.
the compassionate gesture that you discover, you're using your
Mhm.
2 words, you're coming back to your
Mhm.
true north, you're recentering
Mhm.
yourself, right? Now, inside of this
Mhm.
whole time, the GABA is starting to flow in your brain,
Mhm.
right? So things are calming down a
Mhm.
little bit. And now you're looking at what's happening for me,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? So
And
the
even as you
pressure's
say
been
that,
released.
totally, even as you say that, I notice. So I am into practicing my compassion gesture as I teach it in the book. I'm about 3 years in. And
Mhm.
so at this point, it actually comes up without me trying. And I
Mhm.
don't even need to
Mhm.
use the gesture anymore. Like right now,
Oh,
as you said
wow.
that, know what I can feel the heat shape of a hand on my
Yeah.
heart. Because my
Mhm.
gesture was
Let's
always
see your
like
hand on your.
was a hand on my heart. But at this point, I don't even have to put my hand on my heart. What happens is a heat feeling
Mhm.
comes up right on my skin, right over my heart. And kindness, courage, those are my 2 words. They're instantly with me. And
Mhm.
then as that's happening, I'm wondering about, what needs do I need to speak up for in this conversation? What
Mhm.
am I missing
Mhm.
about how I'm expressing myself? I wonder what I'm missing about what he's trying to tell me. The curiosity naturally
Yeah.
starts coming online. So that's what that U-turn's for. And then
Mhm.
once you're ready to continue the conversation, you take a quarter turn towards your partner just to
Mhm.
let them know you are ready and you wait. I call it waiting beautifully, which I got from Bonnie Badnock. I say,
Mhm.
wait beautifully. It's lovely. Trust them.
I find that people
Thank
need an
them for taking.
explanation around waiting beautifully. You're going to go there?
I can go there. I'm interested in your explanation. What I think waiting beautifully means is that I say, I am so deeply glad you are taking the time to take care of you and take
Mhm.
care of us. And if that takes all night, then that's great, babe.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
explain it.
Mm.
Yeah. My
It's like,
explanation doesn't differ much from that. Different words, maybe, but similar.
mhm. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about grace and gratitude.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You're taking the time to take care of you,
To take care of
take
you.
care of us. Well, taking care of you is taking care of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so then once both partners turn towards each other, a quarter turn towards each other, now we both know we're both ready. Now nobody talk. Look at your partner. If they look attractive to you, you probably got you assessed yourself relatively well and you are ready. If they look annoying to you, if you look at them and you go, I'm a little bit disgusted right now.
Yeah. Then you're not
You
ready.
misread your internal cues. It turns out you need a longer time in. No problem, just turn away. So if both partners
Mhm.
look at each other, see each other, they both look attractive, they'll both stay together and then they start talking. So looking at your partner and seeing how they appear to you, that's your double check.
And sometimes it's not working so good and you need to take a time out. And that's
fine.
okay. You stuck around, you tried, you took care of you. Because here's the thing, if you're not taking care of you, you're certainly not taking care of your relationship. And then what's going to happen? Now it's your partner's job to take care of you?
Yes. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Then we hand ourselves over to them. And I may not be able to always count on that. I can. I want to count on the person who's most going to be with me my entire life. There's only one human who's going to know me as well as me. And that's me. There's only one person I get to count on for the whole journey. And that's me. So I'm not saying I don't want us to count on each other. I absolutely want us to count on each other. I want you to ask for what you need. And I'm just such a big advocate for owning the reality that your brain has a prefrontal cortex that can help you pause.
Hallelujah.
Right?
Seriously, though, because it's like when I think about it, I think, what are the ingredients that are necessary if my partner's going to take care of the parts of me that I'm not ready or able or willing to take care of, and I'm going to foist them onto my partner? Then what's he have to do in order to exquisitely take care of me? It's all the stuff that I'm already not doing, all the ways that I'm already abandoning and turning away from me. He now has to compensate for, and he has to know me better somehow than I know me. That's not going to go very well. How am I even going to recognize it and take it in? Right? Yeah. So like if I show up as the adult and I start taking care of me, right? And then that sounds something like, oh yeah, this makes a ton of sense inside. Of course I'd be upset about this. I'd be upset about this because this need isn't being met. What would happen if this need were to be met? What would be the hope that that would show up? And now I have a way and a framework of talking about it. And saying like, here's what's needed. Here's the part of me that I was abandoning that we were not noticing.
And of course, while you say all that, you've got your psychological boundary up. When do we practice
Which was the previous episode.
All the time.
All the time. Every day.
All the time.
There's not a time that we're not practicing the psychological boundary. Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Whew.
That's been a lot.
Speaking of containment.
I know. I think it's time for us to wrap this one up. Yeah. Totally. But we have one more in this series. So we're going to be back next week. And just another plug for our amazing sponsor, Therapy Wisdom, and another plug for setting boundaries that stick. Y'all go out and buy a copy of the book.
Oh,
Take care. Excited. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at one of our workshops. You'll find our next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you can ask us your questions?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.
And here's some gratitudes. Thanks to Al Huberman, our sound editor and podcast production magic maker.
Thanks to every one of you who has joined us for our workshops in the past. We've learned so much from all of you.
And thanks to everyone who's reviewed the show on Apple Podcasts. Your reviews help others to find the show.
Take care of each other best you can.
See you next time.